Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me all right?
Yeah.
We have some people participating remotely, too. I'd like to call to order this regular meeting of the Boulder Valley Board of Education for Tuesday, May 10th, 2022. Laura, would you please call the roll?
Garcia.
Here.
Gebhardt.
Here.
Nesnick.
Here.
Rajpal.
Here.
Sargent. Sweeney Moran.
Here.
Zis.
Here.
Thank you.
I'd like to remind everybody that the mission of the Boulder Valley School District is to create challenging, meaningful, and engaging learning opportunities so that all children thrive and are prepared for successful, civically engaged lives. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us electronically on BV22, and thank you for being here in person. It's really nice to see all of you. We're glad to have you observe and participate in our meetings. At this time, I would like to hear a motion to approve our agenda for this evening.
I'd like to make a motion that we change tonight's agenda and include the public participation all at once.
This call is now being recorded.
With respect for everyone's time that's here tonight.
Do we have a second? Second, Richard. Can you call the roll on that, please, Laura?
Garcia.
Yes.
Gebhardt.
Yes.
Nesnick.
Yes.
Rajpal.
Yes.
Sweeney Moran.
Yes.
Zis.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So do we have a motion now to approve the amended agenda? I know we're not doing it exactly right, but we have an amended. Moved by Stacy, seconded by Richard. Laura, can you call the roll on the amended agenda?
Garcia.
Yes.
Gebhardt.
Yes.
Nesnick.
Yes.
Rajpal.
Yes.
Sweeney Moran.
Yes.
Zis.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So just for those of you to understand what that motion was, our policy says when we have a large amount of public participation, we usually just hear the first hour of it, and then the remaining parts that don't get heard go to the end of the meeting. But Ms. Nisnik just made a motion so that all of you who are here, we will get to the end of everyone who has signed up for public participation so that you don't have to sit through the meeting. So I just wanted to explain what that motion was about. So without further hesitation, we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Anderson, good evening.
Good evening, Board President Gebhardt, members of the board, and good evening to all of our wonderful participants here. Thank you for joining us. Just a couple quick announcements because I know we have lots of folks who want to speak tonight. I want to make sure that they have plenty of time and the opportunity to do so. Board members, we're looking forward to our graduations. It's hard to believe that the school year is almost over. Graduations start Thursday, May 19th. As has been the case in the past 2 years, all of our graduations will be at Rec Field at Boulder High School. I'm excited to see our graduates, shake their hands. There's even one special graduate that might live in my house, and I'm really excited to see cross that stage. So it's just an exciting time of the year for those of us that work in schools and have worked in public education. High school graduations is just a special time. So for our community, as a reminder for graduations, there are not limits to the number of folks who can come to graduations. And so I know that there had been some restrictions in previous years, but those restrictions are no longer. So we invite our community and our families to our graduations and invite our entire community to celebrate our seniors and our graduates. The graduating class of 2022 certainly has had an interesting run over the past 4 years with not only the pandemic, not only with the King Super shootings, but also the Marshall Fire. And so there's a lot that we need to be celebrating over the next few weeks, and I would encourage us all as a community to do that. Board members, I want to give you an update on our recent engagement opportunities in our community that we've called BVSD Connects. I want to thank all of the members of our community that have participated in those meetings. We've had 3 meetings, 2 in Spanish and 1 in English. Last night we were at Centaurus High School. And I just want to thank our community for being involved, giving us feedback, giving us an opportunity to provide updates on the work of the district, and then just truly connecting with us. I know that I personally heard multiple really great ideas from parents that I know that our team is going to be digging into as we move forward. And so I want to thank board members who have joined for those meetings. And we anticipate doing this every semester, an opportunity to go out, connect with our community, give folks an opportunity to engage with school board members, engage with our staff, and just talk about what's working and where we need to get better. Board members, you know I ask those 2 questions often and really appreciate the feedback, and we'll work to be responsive to the feedback that we've received. Our last BVSD Connect sessions is Wednesday, May 18th at 6:30 p.m. at Fairview High School. For any parents, community members who have not had a chance and would want to join us, then that is when we'll have our last meeting. And then finally, board members, I want to give you an update on some of our contract negotiations. Obviously, we have lots of folks here from BVCEA to speak to you on tonight to share their perspective. I will say that we are excited that we've signed tentative agreement with both our office professionals and para-educators. We were able to get that done today. And again, we're still amidst negotiations with BVCEA, and I'm sure board members you'll hear a lot this evening on their perspective on where things are. And that is all I have for my superintendent's comments.
Rob, I just want to ask, I think 2 of our graduations are not at Rec Field, Boulder Prep and Justice. So if people are interested in those, it's on the website where those are going to be located.
That's a good correction. Thank you. Yes, we do have 2 that are not at Rec Field. And all that information is, I'm looking for Randy, and typically I can see him really easy.
I just checked, it's on the website.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you.
So board members, any questions for Rob? Lisa, any questions? And I don't think Kitty's joined us, so, all right. There are no questions for Dr. Anderson. We will now proceed to the next item on our agenda, which is public participation. Members of the public who wish to speak at tonight's meeting are asked to sign up prior to noon today by submitting the request to speak during public participation form that can be found on the BVSD website or by contacting the board secretary, Laura Schaefer. Public participants have the option to attend the meeting in person or join and present their comments via Google Meet. And tonight we have some that are remote and some that are in person. The board respects the rights of the public to speak on matters concerning the operation of the schools. We believe that public comments that are critical of district staff, however, often cause unnecessary harm to those employees and to the education of our students. As a result, we prefer that members of the public share any criticisms of employees in writing with the superintendent, who is responsible for supervising all staff and then involving the board as necessary. If you choose instead to address a personnel issue publicly, please understand that the board does not endorse the comments of any speaker and reminds all who speak that they assume the risk of legal action by district employees in the event the affected employees believe that any comments about them violate legal standards. To ensure that our meeting is conducted in an orderly manner, we ask the persons who address the board, 1, confine your comments to matters that are germane to business of the school district. Speakers on agenda items will be heard first, followed by those speaking to non-agenda items. 2, limit your presentation to 2 minutes. And it says if we go over the first hour, we'll continue, but as I've already explained to you, we're not going to be doing that. We'll go to the end of everybody who's signed up. If you run out of time or you would like to share additional information, you may email the board. Recognize that students often attend or view our meetings. Speakers' remarks, therefore, should be suitable for an audience that includes kindergarten through 12th grade students. I may interrupt, warn, or terminate a participant's statement that is unrelated to the business of the district or inappropriate for K-12 students. This video will be recorded for public viewing into perpetuity. BVSD reserves the right to remove you from the meeting if your video includes material that is inappropriate for the public or for BVSD students. You will see a yellow card when you have 30 seconds remaining. Laura Schaefer will hold these up. When you have 10 seconds, you will see an orange card. And please wrap up your comments after that. At the end of 2 minutes, a timer will sound and your microphone will be muted. We will begin with our student speakers, and the first speaker, we have 3 students tonight. The first student I have is Joey Punko.
Hi, my name is Joey. I am a junior at Broomfield High School. I played hockey for Centaurus High School for the last 2 years. I was really disappointed and confused when I first heard that BVSD was killing the team at Centaurus. And I do understand that there were issues with the rink at the YMCA and that people weren't really liking that there weren't many people from Centaurus playing for the team. Having played at Highland Hills for the last 3 years, or since I was 3, I know the organization would be a great partner if we were to add a team at Broomfield instead of the proposed team for JV at Monarch, as we had a JV team for the CPHL season for both Monarch and Centaurus. So that was 2 teams that were not for CHASA necessarily, that were still being fielded for these 2 schools that add to the numbers of students playing for a school. And for my senior year, it would mean a ton to be able to put on a jersey that says Broomfield on it, as I've been looking forward to that since elementary school, and the chance to even play for Centaurus was a big deal.
Thank you. Our next student is Jack Martin. Hold on a second, Jack. The mic's not working very well.
There you go.
There you go.
Sorry. Hi, everybody. I'm Jack. I'm a student at Peak to Peak, and I also played for Centaurus this year with Joey. I think it's really important that we do have another high school hockey team, considering that we do only have one currently in BVSD. I think it'd be great for more people to be able to represent their school and just who they play for, and be able to make more friendships and relationships with other people that can also continue through high school. There are also currently more than around 200 high school players, or people that 14 to 18-year-olds that would like to play high school, that are potential players that currently are unable to because of the lack of teams. And I think it'd be great to be able to have more places for everybody to play, especially for Broomfield, considering the Promenade hockey rink is such a big place with lots of teams, and also that Broomfield is such a big school. I think it'd be a great place for more people to play. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Our next student speaker is Abby Paulsick. Oh. Oh, no, it's all right. Come ahead.
Good evening. My name is Abby Paulsick.
Wait. So when you all come up to talk, there's a little red circle you'll be able to see. Yes, push the mic on. And you'll be able to tell because the little red circle will light up, just so you all know.
So good evening. My name is Abby Paulsick. As I said, I'm actually a parent. I know I'm short. I can look like a student. Our son is a sophomore at Broomfield High School, and he also played for Centaurus. And I'm here today to ask that you please approve the formation of the Broomfield High School hockey team. As we all know, participation in high school sports has such a positive impact on our students. And there is a widely recognized need among experts and researchers to increase participation in high school sports as a viable way for really helping our students develop their social and emotional skills. And I think even especially more so now as they're coming back from post-pandemic and that isolation and disruption. And unfortunately, you're going to hear tonight, the current model that we have, it's just not working for enough students. It's largely based on trying to win games and get scholarships. And while that's valuable and that's important, there are students that are being left behind. I would also add that I don't think there's a need to study participation numbers for the Monarch program over the next 2 years. There are club programs right now that have all of that data and information, and I suspect they can easily provide that to you. And what they would tell you is youth hockey is growing exponentially year over year. I believe every student has the right to play, and I don't just mean the right to try out, but the right to play and represent their school. I believe there's a path forward right now in this partnership with the Promenade and to provide the needed increase in access to high school hockey, and I urge you to take it. And at a minimum, I would just ask that if the Broomfield hockey team does not move forward, I hope that there's a plan that is going to be published outlining how you will ensure a fair and equitable tryout process. You'll have 3 club programs coming together, Highland Hills, Lafayette, and Boulder. And I would expect to see equal representation from each.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Jennifer Donnelly, who has been given 2 minutes by Sam Trueblood.
Good evening, thank you. My name is Jennifer Donnelly, and I am a transportation dispatcher. I am here not only for myself, but for all the classified employees who are struggling and deserve more. This is my 9th year, and though many things have changed, some things have not, primarily fair wages. I am here to ask you to help us to make some real change toward our Unit C workers' pay. Even though the demographics of transportation still has retirees who are primarily here for the benefits, many of our staff have shifted to workers who rely on BVSD for their living. Many of us come to this job thinking it was temporary, not knowing how we could make a living from a part-time position, yet found our community and passion for the work. I did not ever imagine that this would become a career, but immediately found my calling to serve this community through transportation within my first year. Needing 40 hours of work, I have worked in both food services and maintenance during middays and summers. Later, I was promoted to the position of dispatcher and became a full-time employee, which helped me to qualify for my permanently affordable Habitat for Humanity home, or I would not be living in Boulder County at this time. Despite my positive circumstances, my income is just enough to make ends meet, but not enough to thrive or be prepared for any large expenses or even retirement. To support my family and make a livable income, I have either worked a second part-time job or have worked overtime, putting in 50 or 60 hours a week in transportation for the past 3 years. This extra work has brought up my income to a livable level, but everything else in my life has suffered for it. Between my physical and mental health or the lost time with my husband, who is an aging disabled vet, is just not sustainable. Yes, I have made a choice to work here. And yes, I have chosen to step up and cover staffing shortages. But I feel the district is not compensating us enough according to their own standards, as our union has brought to light during this negotiation. After nearly 10 years, I am saddened to say that this is the first time that I have started to explore other opportunities that will pay me better and perhaps provide for a better work-life balance. I am a proud and confident employee who believes we deserve more, and now is the time to rethink how BVSD values us. Thank you.
Next, we have a virtual speaker, Dana Scholbrock. Okay, Dana's not online, so what we do is we will circle back to her at the end to see if she's been able to log in. Next, we have Beth Baldner, who has, I can't tell, who's been given extra time, Laura, from Lori Punko? Other way around. Lori, who's been given extra time from Beth Baldner.
Feel free to leave the microphone on when you go back and forth.
Hi, my name is Lori Punko. I'm the mom of a junior at Broomfield High School, who you heard speak first tonight. I have also been a hockey mom to 16 teams that my son has played on over the years. I'm here to advocate on behalf of all those student athletes for a hockey program at Broomfield High School for the 2022-23 school year. My son was devastated when he found out that BVSD was shutting down the program at Centaurus. Members of the Centaurus hockey community were told the district was replacing the Centaurus varsity team with a JV team at Monarch. Quote, a total of 52 spots, opportunities for players will remain in this new structure, which is the same number as in our current structure. That premise alone is false. Monarch and Centaurus both fielded 2 teams for the Colorado Prep Hockey League fall season that sets the groundwork for the Chassa season. The same 20 players that played on Monarch's Tier 2 CPHL team played as Boulder Hockey Club's 16AA last year. At Centaurus, the Tier 2 team continued to scrimmage club teams and JV teams throughout the Chassa season. So in actuality, both Monarch and Centaurus had JV feeder teams already in place last season, with spots for 104 players, not just 52. The pool of available high school talent will only continue to grow this fall as club teams are opting not to field high school age programs. The rest of the state has already shifted from club hockey to high school hockey. In 2016-17, there were 21 16U and 18U competitive club teams. Last year, there were only 10, and that number will be falling again this year. Conversely, in 2016-17, there were 44 Chassa varsity and JV teams. Last season, that number jumped to 66. The bottom line is that there are nearly 200 BVSD student athletes that played 14U to 18U hockey last year. 113 of them just completed a spring hockey season, including 24 players from Broomfield High. Many of these BVSD student athletes will see their hockey careers, including the opportunity to play college or junior hockey, end this fall without an additional team in this district. If there are so many BVSD hockey players, you might ask why they didn't show up to play for Centaurus or why they didn't try out for Monarch. In my son's 3 years in high school, I have never received information from either program about tryouts. That was information I had to go and seek out an email for. In addition, it is crucial to field a CPHL team for a Chassa team to succeed. And the CPHL teams are outside the schools and district's oversight. Without a strong hockey program backing a high school team, there is little chance for player development and success. This is evidenced by the close relationship between the Boulder Hockey Club and the Monarch program. So close that athletes from other programs do not believe they will have a fair chance of competing for a spot on the Monarch team. Highland Hills Hockey Association Director Tyson Davis and I met with Steve Shelton from Broomfield and Harry Waterman to present these facts. Highland Hills is willing to partner with Broomfield High School to create a sustainable hockey experience for our student athletes beginning as soon as this summer. A memo sent by Mr. Waterman yesterday calls for evaluating the number for 2 more years before considering adding an additional team. By that time, the current freshmen will be seniors, and our current sophomores and juniors will have been denied the opportunity to play high school hockey in their own community. All the pieces are in place for a sustainable program. Our student athletes just need the support of BVSD. Please give them their chance to play hockey. Thank you.
Next, we have Julie Dajiao. I know I butchered that last name. I apologize.
Oh, I didn't get it, but we can.
To who?
Hold on. You see Paul Wagner. Okay, Paul is towards the end, so we can, go ahead. We'll do it later.
Now it's fine.
Okay.
Come on up, Mr. Martin.
My name is Paul Martin. I am indeed here to speak on behalf of the future Broomfield Hockey Club. I was a high school hockey player. I'm Jack Martin's dad. I was a high school hockey player, and that was a huge part of my self-esteem growing up. And what I really looked forward to every year was that season. And I had a great time playing. I can't tell you how impactful it was for me to be on the ice and have the cheerleaders cheering, have my family there, have my friends there, have the teachers there, everybody cheering and building that self-esteem. I later played some more hockey. I actually lost my leg shortly after high school in a car accident. Oddly enough, I went and played for the national team, the first ever stand-up amputee hockey team, and their world championships held in Finland. And I got to say, honestly, scoring a goal in Finland for my nation, it's not what I think about when I think about my youthful hockey experiences. I think about playing high school hockey and how incredibly impactful that is, and how incredibly impactful it is for any hockey player to represent their high school. So I would really hope you think about the opportunities that they'll miss if there's not a second team. You heard there's 200 high school age players in the Valley. I'm going to guess 80 to 90% of them want to play high school hockey. They want to get there. They want to play. So I beg you to give them the opportunity to make that happen. You have all the pieces in place. We have a rink to play at. We have coaches. We have money. The money is going to come from the parents. We've been paying for hockey. We're going to keep paying for hockey. So money's not the issue. The rink's not the issue. The staff's not the issue. The motivation's not the issue. It's all there. So we beg you to really think about how heavy this decision is to limit it to one team. Football players know they have a chance. Volleyball players know they have a chance. Every other player knows they have a chance in almost every other sport. Hockey, the greatest sport of all, needs more and more opportunity for players. So we want you to really think about how important it is. It's not about winning the championship of whatever. It's about letting kids represent their high school. Get on the ice so their boyfriends and girlfriends can cheer for them. It's important. It's huge. Because it's the greatest sport of all, and I hope this greatest school district of all takes that into account. Because I believe it's, was it all together for all students? Something to that effect, right? All the students. So give them a chance to play hockey. Thank you.
Next, we have Barbara Warner, who has been given 2 minutes by Christy Endres.
Hello, my name is Barbara Warner. I've worked for BVSD Transportation for 15 years, and I've worked for food service for many of those years. I love my job. I love the people I work with. I love this community. I chose to stay here. I, as many others, have traveled much farther to get to work now. I've moved out of Boulder County to a more affordable county. I passed the home I lived in when my children went to BVSD on my way to work. Because of the worker shortage, the pandemic, and the fire, we have all been asked to do more, push our limits. My day, as many of my coworkers, starts well before people pour their first cup of coffee. As a router, I'm expected to be at work prior to my shift, to be available to drive a school bus if needed. I love to do that. And then again at the end of my day. if I'm needed again. Then I have to fit my job in between that. During a normal school year, this goes on for a couple of weeks, which is normal. This year, it's gone on all school year. 50 to 60 hours is a reality to get kids to school. I had to stop this for myself 7 months into the school year. It was a Friday, a snowstorm. I was asked to drive. I was exhausted from a long week already. I told myself, I can do this. In the end, I should not have done it. I was told just to say no. This is not the solution to the problem. It just passes it to the exhausted next individual. Just this past Friday, I said I could not drive in the afternoon. I was asked 2 more times to drive in the afternoon when 29 people from one terminal were out sick. We need more people. I'm asking the board in Boulder Valley to bring up all Unit C employees up to the 75 percentile as they say they pay their employees. Do not leave anybody behind. Don't bring them up to the 50, 60 percentile that is being proposed. Bring them all up to 75 percentile. If BVSD does not do it, they're taking the risk of cutting services or quality people to drive their kids to school, serve them food, keep things clean in all buildings, and maintained. We are the soil that these buildings' foundations are sitting on. If the soil fails, so do the foundations. Do not take the risk of losing more of us. We're loyal, dedicated, skilled, smart, hardworking employees. But paying us less than what the industry pays is not smart. We are asking for something that's reasonable, not unreasonable. Just be fair. The district can't function without Unit C employees. And more are leaving because they can take their skills, their loyalty elsewhere for more money. There's a solution to this. BVSD just needs to keep up their word. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is virtual, and it's Joe Mason.
Hello, I'm Joe Mason, and I train bus drivers for BVSD. I ask this board to consider the following. Is our district willing to accept the lower standards of service that will result from underpaying and understaffing Unit C, including denying busing to students? 4 years ago, I spoke at a board meeting with a group of dissatisfied employees, and I cited one of the board's own goals. BVSD will attract, hire, and retain outstanding professionals at all levels of the organization. Some of you may remember a driver named Jeff that evening in 2018. He told the board how he had to use government aid programs to help support his school-age daughter while working as a bus driver. Not long after, he quit. We've gone on to lose a third of the drivers we had 4 years ago. Our district leadership speaks to the board and others about a national shortage of bus drivers. It's easy to say this shortage is a result of external causes beyond our control, like COVID or competition with Amazon or UPS. But other districts have weathered COVID and the rise of Amazon without losing 1/3 of their workforce. What's the difference here in Boulder? The difference is we simply do not pay enough to compensate for the higher cost of living or commuting here. I've spoken to coworkers as they leave every year. I've tried recruiting new folks. They know our district does not lead when it comes to hiring and retaining outstanding professionals other than teachers and administrators at the Ed Center. It seems like our negotiators are perennially fighting to get to this 75th percentile metric. What positive outcomes might we see if our district were to lead at that 100th percentile rather than bickering for the 50th percentile? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Ciara Matero, who's been given, one second. Sean's been given 2 minutes by Barbara DeMario.
Good evening, President Gephardt, the board, Dr. Anderson. My name is Sean Matero. I'm the Boulder Valley Classified Employee Association President. I'm here to speak about the contract negotiations between BVCEA and the district. As we near the end of the negotiation process, I realize that one of the main obstacles we are facing as union leaders is to undo much of what has come before. The more I learn about the changes that were made to the 2019-20 salary schedule, the more frustrating and overwhelming it becomes. One of the outcomes from these negotiations was that the earning potential of many Unit C positions were significantly reduced. Middle school head custodians lost $3,500, high school head custodians lost $3,100, and maintenance mechanics lost over $8,000 per year in potential earnings under the new schedules. Not to mention the fact that their schedules increased from between 7 and 9 years to 14 years. In essence, they earn less and have to wait longer to increase their earnings because of those unfortunate negotiations. Even under the new contract, what appears to be straightforward is not. The agreement between BVCEA and the district reads as follows. The parties agree to conduct an annual salary market review at 75% of the market data midpoints of all Unit C job descriptions. The districts to be included in the market review will include Adams 12, Aurora, Cherry Creek, Denver, Jefferson County, Littleton, Poudre, St. Vrain, Westminster, and the Thompson School District. Based on this, one would think that Unit C employees are paid at or near the 75th percentile and that they are being compared to the 10 school districts outlined in this agreement. But this is not what actually happens. The district also includes non-school district salary data, which effectively reduces Unit C wages. They also use a plus or minus 5% variance, which brings Unit C salaries down to between the 40th and the 60th percentile on average. Both of these tactics serve to push an agenda that is not in line with fair and equitable employee compensation. The district says that it uses the same methodology for determining pay for Unit C workers and administrators, the 75th percentile philosophy. This simply is not true. When you apply this philosophy to Unit C employees, our wages, on average, fall between the 40th and 60th percentile. But when you apply this philosophy to administrators, they fall between the 90th and 100th percentile. When policies produce vastly different results, it is not equitable, and the district needs to stop representing it as such. Over the last 10 years, Unit C salaries have increased 46%. Over the same period, teacher salaries 57% and administrator salaries 93%. It's clear the people setting salaries are benefiting the most, and the people who struggle the most continue to be left behind. Next year, the average raise for administrator will be approximately $8,400, and their average salary will be approximately $142,000. The district is offering all employee groups a 3.5% COLA. That's a $1,200 average raise for Unit C employees, $3,100 for teachers, and $4,700 for administrators. For Unit C employees, this is effectively a pay cut. Of all employee groups, Unit C and Unit E are most likely to be renters and have longer commutes, the cost of which has increased significantly more than the 3.5% COLA the district is offering. Prior to negotiations, we were promised that the salary data from OMS Consulting Services, by late January and didn't receive it until late March. We were told that all positions were going to be reviewed. It's May now, and we still haven't received data on more than 25% of Unit C positions. Every attempt to get the district to negotiate is met with deflection or statements like, "This is not the time to change how things are done." But now is the time to change how things are done. We expect more and we deserve more. It's time to do things differently. It's time to do things fairly. It's time for fair and equitable treatment of all employees, not just for those that are at the top. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Robin Nichols.
Hello, I'm Robin Nichols. I'm in transportation. This is my second year working for the transportation department, and I would echo what's kind of already been said. I joined transportation during the pandemic. I have a master's degree. I worked for Duke University doing neuropsych research, and when the pandemic hit, my older son's immune compromised, and I thought it was a death sentence, and I wanted to get to the top of the immunization line. That was my sole goal. I came on board thinking this would be a temporary job. I thought it was beneath me. I thought it was going to be simple, and it's the most rewarding work I've ever done in my life. I transport over 100 kids a day. I'm crazy about my kids. I love my coworkers. This work is incredibly meaningful to me, but it's challenging. And the biggest challenge I've had, my house was evacuated during the fire. I took in a family that lost their home, their pets, everything. I didn't want to come to work. But unlike a teacher where you can call in a substitute, if we don't show up for transportation, there's no one to take our place. And I feel this loyalty that it's at my soul. And, I think that there's these metrics, and my background's in statistics. I understand the metrics, but I think what's forgotten is last year, over 8 states had to call in the National Guard because they didn't have enough drivers. There were states that were providing income, they were providing financial incentives for parents to transport their kids to school because they couldn't find drivers. You cannot run a school system without drivers, and we're not greedy. We're at the bottom of the line here, but there's not enough of us. I want to be able to call in sick when I'm sick. I want to be able to take a vacation when my house is at threat and I'm overwhelmed. And right now I don't feel like I can do that. I work 3 jobs. I love what I do. I actually take a pay cut keeping this job, but I keep it because it's meaningful to me. So anyhow, with that, I'll pass. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Next, we have Susan D'Aronzio, who's been given 2 minutes by Pete D'Aronzio.
Hi, my name is Susan, and I also want to say this is the most stressful but rewarding job I've done. Both our daughters went to school in the district, and it has served us well. This is my 6th year driving school bus for BVSD. Before that, among other things, I worked in finance for 20 years. Boulder Valley has done a great job of hiring staff. I say this because I work with such caring, competent, intelligent, funny people. It's inspiring, and I really love my job. I'm not quite sure why it changed, but I heard BVSD used to be the go-to district to work for, at least for bus drivers. Teachers and administration are rightfully and deservingly being paid at 100% compared to their peers in nearby districts. I hope you agree that transportation, food service, and custodians are equally as important to our team. We are currently struggling to be brought up to the 75th percentile, and it just feels crazy to me. Cost of living adjustment. My annual COLA doesn't even cover or keep up with the increase in my health insurance costs that the district charges for the cheapest family plan available. For higher paid employees, 3% works out to be more money. But applied to my salary, it essentially does work out to be a pay cut. It sounds really good that everybody gets this same COLA across the board, but it's not comparing apples to apples. Sean, an accomplished CPA who used to work for one of the big 4 accounting firms, Price Waterhouse, has already spent over 400 hours of his own time analyzing payroll data to help the people around him that he knows are struggling. His analysis revealed that BVSD has a pattern of comparing the salary for a given position to unrelated private sector data and the lowest possible wage in other districts. For example, custodian positions have different pay scales for elementary, middle, and high school. I was distressed to learn that only the very lowest of these three rates is being used. It's just not right. Food service. A few years ago, I had the opportunity to see the production kitchen in action, and what I saw was nothing short of amazing. These people, we can't afford to lose them. These are dedicated, hardworking, and they just really know what they're doing, people. We got to help them. As a homeowner in Boulder County, I would expect that my tax dollars will be distributed to employees in a fair and equitable manner. I would bet that many of my parents would feel of the students I drive would feel the same way. This is an urgent situation. Yes, there are shortages everywhere, but other districts are stepping it up. Cherry Creek drivers just received an average of 17% pay increase. It is discouraging to see fellow drivers leave BVSD for districts like Westminster, where they pay drivers on average $6 more per hour. This is putting extra stress on all of those that are remaining here. As members of the board, you can help. We need your help, and without your help, the shortages will continue to grow. We cannot lose more drivers. It takes 2 months to train new drivers. Something needs to be done to retain the drivers that we have. Thank you very much for your time and for listening.
Thank you. Next, we have Brenda D. St. Simon. Is Brenda here? I will come back at the end if she's joined us, and we can add her at the end. So we'll move on. Next, we have Michael Guidorelli, sorry, I'll get it right, who's been given 2 minutes by Kim Cooley.
Good evening, Superintendent Anderson and members of the school board.
Hold that microphone to you.
Does it pull off? Could you stop the timer, please? Thank you. My name is Michael Guidorelli, school bus driver for the Boulder terminal. In 1758, Benjamin Franklin included a proverb in his Poor Richard's Almanac, preceded by the words, "A little neglect may breed great mischief." The proverb goes like this: "For want of a nail, the shoe was lost. For want of a shoe, the horse was lost. For want of a horse, the rider was lost. For want of a rider, the battle was lost. For want of a battle, the kingdom was lost. And all for the want of a horseshoe nail." The tooth-to-tail ratio of the U.S. Army states that for every combat soldier, there are 4 to 7 non-combat soldiers to provide logistics and support for that one combatant. In the same token, there are numerous non-classroom support staff for each classroom teacher. For example, for want of an HVAC person, the students were too hot or cold to learn. For want of a food truck driver, the school had nothing to feed the students. For want of a facilities person, the school grounds were not fit for the students to play on. For want of a mechanic, the buses wouldn't start. For want of a driver and aide, the students didn't get to school. For want of a router, the driver didn't know where or when to pick up the students. And for want of a dispatcher, total chaos ensued. Take our mechanics. Currently, we are short between 2 and 3 mechanics and are 2 months behind schedule in our maintenance. The age of the average BVSD school bus is over 16 years, one of the oldest in the state of Colorado. Older buses require more maintenance and spare parts. Mechanics can get better pay and bonuses elsewhere. Take our drivers. The district gave out information that bus driver turnover was 35% last year. I spoke with our superintendent, Dr. Anderson, prior to the last Board of Education meeting about driver turnover. He agreed that our current situation is not sustainable. We will continue to bleed mechanics, drivers, and other support staff until the district offers us competitive wages to compete for talent. I'm not talking about being paid in the top 10% wages compared to the 10 school districts we are to compare compensation with, as per the MOU or Memorandum of Understanding, which the district negotiators refused to follow. So I am asking you, Dr. Anderson, and I'm asking you, members of the school board, the following. Please require that the district negotiating team stop using OM Consulting Services and their inaccurate and misleading data. Number two, have the district negotiating team follow the contract and MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, which requires the negotiators to compare classified employees against the 10 school districts listed in the MOU and exclude other public and private organization comparisons. I leave you with two quotes. The first, the biggest communication problem is we do not listen to understand. We listen to reply. The second is addressed to those who talk the talk but don't walk the talk. Your actions speak so loudly, I can't hear a word you're saying. So Dr. Anderson and members of the school board, we need your help to get involved for all classified employees to reach the 75th percentile in wages. Thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is William Rosenbaum. Is William here? We'll circle back. How about Norman Moore?
I'm Norman Moore. I'm an assistant trainer, and I am a bus driver out of the Boulder terminal. I'm a relief driver. That means I fill in for all those drivers who aren't able to show up for their shifts. Since the beginning of the year, I've put in between 45 and 50 hours a week, except for 1 week. That's the week I left for my father's funeral. I've been doing that. I like the money. It's fine. But while I'm making overtime is the only time I consider that I'm being paid properly. The administration has sold us this bill of goods they label a Memorandum of Understanding as their negotiating stance for many years. This MOU has not been agreed to by the BVCEA members, and the numbers and the rubrics that have been created by this are a method of forcing the members into an undesired, uncomfortable, and untenable framework in which to bargain. The poorly calculated 75th percentile with a plus or minus 5% leeway is an artificial construct that the administration negotiation team is trying to force down the classified workers' throats. The construct is established by using the surrounding 10 school districts' pay scales to find an average, and then by going outside the contractual agreements, they include cherry-picking surrounding outside entities' pay scales to find positions that lower the average. This has been demonstrated in many documents that have been provided to the board members and to the BVSD negotiating committees. To reiterate, the scale is established using parties outside the scope of instructions approved by the BVSD school board to lower the wages. Surprisingly, once the numbers are actually analyzed by a qualified individual, this discrepancy has been discovered and revealed. To date, the BVSD administration had refused to even consider this problem, claiming the MOU is inviolate. The MOU is not contractual, as the MOU is not approved by the classified workers. Each of the news emails sent out by the district discussing the negotiations have included many factually incorrect pieces of information. I understand they have sent this information to the school board as well. Perhaps the impasse that we are approaching can be alleviated by the administration coming back to the table and bargaining in good faith.
Thank you. The next speaker is Robert Udnich, who's been given 2 minutes by Galen Moser.
Thank you. My name is Robert Udnich. I've been a driver for Boulder Valley for 10 years, and I will be retiring at the end of the school year, so there'll be another driver short on my retirement. 2 weeks ago, I was having my haircut done, and my barber seen my badge, and she asked me what I did, and I told her I was a school bus driver, and she kind of lit up, and she says, I'm thinking about changing careers. I've been a hairdresser for 17 years, but now I have small kids at home, and I want summers off. And I told her about the job, and then she asked me what are some of the things to look for, and I said, look at what your starting pay is, what your top end pay is, and what your guaranteed hours are along with benefits. And then I asked her, I said, what school district are you kids in? And she says the St. Vrain. And I said, great, because they start out at higher level than we do, and they're guaranteed 30 hours, and we're only guaranteed 20 hours. Boulder Valley has to understand that they're in competition for labor, bus drivers, with these other school districts. And what is the qualification to be a bus driver? Number one, you have to pass the drug test. A lot of people are interested, but marijuana is legal in this state. And if you partake, you can't get past the employment drug test. You can't get past random drug tests. So that wipes out a bunch of qualified people on that alone. And then you have to pass a background check. No domestic violence and sexual crimes, etc. And then they check 7 years back on your driving record. You can't have too many tickets or a DUI. And then you have to pass a written test at the Colorado Department of Motor Vehicles. And some people struggle taking tests and reading. Sometimes English is their second language, and they don't get past that. Then you have to list your medications. I told over 20 people about this job, and I had one person who got excited about it and he was going to do it, and when he listed his medications, he was washed out. And then you have to pass a physical. You have to have no high blood pressure and other medical conditions, or you won't make it. And then you even have to jump in the back of a bus. For emergencies, they make you open the door and you have to do a running jump and you kind of pull yourself into the bus. You know, you're asking a lot here. And then you got to pass driving a 60-passenger bus. You got to learn how to park it and parallel park it. Some people get freaked out driving a big bus and they don't make it. And then finally, congratulations, you got your CDL license for Boulder Valley. But wait, there's more. Boulder Valley only guarantees 20 hours a week for 9.5 months. But no, not really, because you're minus 2 weeks Christmas pay, 1 week spring break, and no pay for teachers' workshops. So it factors in less than 9.5 months. No wonder this industry and Boulder Valley has problems staffing. But one thing Boulder Valley can control, and that is your starting pay, your top end pay. This helps this organization compete against other Boulder Valley, other school districts, and other CDL industries. I had a coworker of mine, and she drove for 17 years at Adams 12, and she told me the one thing that struck her was how old and beat up our buses were compared to Adams 12. That just shows me how neglected the Boulder Valley School District Transportation Department is. It's a reflection on the whole organization. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Sarah Keith, who's been given 2 minutes by Glenn Gray.
Good evening. My name's Sarah Keith. Dr. Anderson and the board, thank you for giving us the time to talk. We really appreciate it. You have heard, but the first thing on my list is, are you aware of the attrition of bus drivers at BVSD will be unable to transport general ed students next fall? There's no way we'll have enough drivers. I have heard this from supervisors. Is BVSD aware of how difficult it is to be fully compensated for the hours that we have worked and the rate of pay that we work? It is nearly impossible to track. The email that I handed out to you is directions when there were tight payrolls on how they try to enter our time so that we can be paid, and it is spread over possibly 3 different paychecks. It's paid for a month, and there's no way the actual receipt we get for our pay stubs are very general and do not decipher what pay is from what pay period when it's put on another pay period. It's virtually impossible to follow, and when a mistake is made, to figure out if you actually ever get paid for that time that was missed. This personally, for all these drivers, this is also maintenance, mechanics, food service. I love driving buses. I am a school bus driver. I've worked 5 years. I love the kids. I work very hard, and so do all the other drivers, to try and make sure those kids get to school safely. That's a difficult thing to do when it's snowing, raining. The traffic is busier and busier and busier. Drivers cut in front of us all the time, red lights all the time. But we show up and we're there. And we do it because we love our job. We love our kids. We have good employees. We're just asking to be compensated for that. I want to be paid. When I get my paycheck once a month, I want all my pay on there. The new system that was just introduced, transportation, maintenance, and mechanics, and I believe food service, but I can't speak for them directly, we were not compensated. Our stipends, our full pay was not put on there. Some of the mechanics have over 40 hours of overtime. They were not paid. Some of the people that have complained, and it's up to us to figure all this out and report it. My understanding is when we hand in our pay, we have a time tracker that transportation employs. She meticulously goes through our timesheets and makes sure all of our different time is in there and needs to be compensated for. It doesn't necessarily come back that way. This is very, very, very upsetting. It shouldn't take us each a couple of hours every month to try and figure out our time, and if we are actually even paid. We deserve to be paid for our work. We need to be paid for our work when we actually get a paycheck, not on the 10th this month, or, oh, we'll carry it over to another month. I love working for BVSD. I love this area. Thank you very much for your time. Please support us.
Thank you. Next, we have Marie Hitler, who has been given 2 minutes by David Pissot or Pissot.
Good evening, Board of Education and everybody. My name is Marie Hiller. I've asked my aide to come up to be my support because she is my support both on the bus and she's supporting me in this meeting. I'm a bus driver. I have a special ed route. I've been with the school district for 7 years, over 7 years, and Sherry, my aide, has been with the district for 11 years. She helps address the students' needs so that I can drive with all the distractions that come with driving, watching my gauges. She's just, addresses all the students' needs and has such a great rapport with our kids. And the bad thing is, when we got the negotiations with the district, I don't think the aides were even on there. So, we love our job. We absolutely, I'm going to say what everybody's been saying. We love our job. And I live in Loveland, and a lot of us can't afford to live in Boulder. So we travel very long distances to be here. With many jobs offering competitive wages and bonuses closer to home, and the rising costs of gasoline and other essentials, it makes us wonder if we should still be making this commute. And that would be a loss for our students, but also for us because we love our job and we want to keep doing it. And as mentioned by many coworkers who said it much better, everybody has to step up to drive. The routers, the dispatchers, supervisors, the mechanics, and that puts a strain on their jobs to get their jobs done. And every year during the negotiations, I do not feel valued or appreciated by the district. Each year, it seems that the school district just tells us, take this or nothing at all. They show us how much we're valued, very little. And each year we take the crumbs, but hopefully no more, because we are worth so much more. So we're asking you to please assist us in receiving a living wage. Don't just tell us we are valued, show us. We all classified employees, every one of us, are responsible for the most precious and valuable natural resource on earth, our children. So we are worth so much more. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Barbara Case, who's been given 2 minutes by Ed Case.
Laura, I'm looking at the time, and I'm a little confused. I know, but it says, oh, there we go. Thank you. Thank you. Good evening, President Gebhardt, members of the board, and Dr. Anderson. Some of you may know me. My name is Barbara Case, and I was the president of the Boulder Valley Paraeducator Association for 6 years and the co-president for 2 more, ending in 2020. I was also the trainer for the paraeducators in special education programs as long as that position existed. So it's not hyperbole to say that I know this position as well as anyone in the district. So there is a lack of economic stability within the paraeducator unit. And I am here to offer some suggestions as we look at not just the budget for this year, but also for next year. Paraeducators should be working an 8-hour day, and I believe we are working towards that goal. They also should be working 180 days like we had been previously. And they need to be paid a third more than what they're being paid across all steps. And why did I say a third? I work at Boulder Tech. I'm the only student support person that they have, and I serve 11 programs, both in the morning sessions and the morning and afternoon sessions. So for 3 years, this job was considered a special skills aid. Last spring, it was decided that this job was like any other paraeducator job, and it was reclassified, and my pay was cut by a third. So what does a third in reduction in pay mean? Well, when I was at SSA, I was able to save enough money for a down payment for a used car. And I knew that I would be able to make those payments. Well, not anymore. And this is before the cost of a used car has raised by 42%. I've used those savings to get through the year, and now I don't have any of those. I'm an 18-year veteran employee, and I want to retire my 20-year-old car. and I can't do it. Cutting the pay for doing the same job is something that's happened in the past, and I've had to fight for paraeducators to have this rectified so they could be returned to their previous classification and they were given back pay. The 180 days that paraeducators should work in the school year was something that we used to have, and then slowly over time, first a couple of schools, 5 days were removed from the paraeducator schedule, and then at another school, then it happened again, and over 3 years, these 5 days were taken away. So 5 days doesn't sound like a lot to you, but it means maybe it's a half of a rent payment or a mortgage payment or 2 car payments. It makes a huge difference in the life of a paraeducator. Paraeducators need to work 180 days. We want the highest level of LRE for our students, and in order to maximize this educational benefit or opportunity, we need to have well-educated, well-trained, and well-prepared paraeducators. Paraeducators are only paid for 48 to 51% of the year. I know that a third of an increase in each step, plus the additional days, plus the additional hour, will go a long way in supporting them and helping them survive in Boulder Valley. Not at the 75%, 75th percentile that's being talked about. I'm not asking to buy a house in Boulder Valley. I just want to buy a used car. Please consider returning the paraeducators to 180 days, increase their day to an 8-hour day, and pay them at least a third more per each step. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next, we have Zachary Raven Hawk.
Hi, I'm Zachary Ravenhawk. I've been with the district about 1 year as an employee and graduated 2018 as a member of your school. And through that schooling, I really enjoyed my experience. All the staff was great, had great teachers, great counselors, so on and so forth. And I really appreciated what they did. I lived in Jamestown, which is a 40-minute commute by bus. If I didn't have any busing, I wouldn't be able to go to the school. And that was a time before online education was even a thing, so I'd have to be homeschooled or find other opportunities. And now, after graduation, took a gap year, was unsure what I was going to do, then COVID hit, and that made me even more unsure what I was gonna do. And my mom, who worked for the district as a dispatcher, said, "Hey, we need bus drivers. You want to work as a bus driver?" And for the first year of COVID, I was like, I don't know. And for the second year, I was like, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I took it up. I enjoyed it. I could have quit as soon as I got my bonus for 90 days, but I stayed with the district because I believe that students need that consistency. I believe that seeing the same face on the bus every day is important for their growth in education, and that's why I stayed. I don't think I can continue to stay if I look 10 years into the future with the current pay schedule. I will not be able to move out of my mom's house, and I'll have to stick with her until she retires and I take over her house or something. It's just not a pay schedule I can stick with, so I'll have to look for other opportunities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Kelly Bailey. Do you know who you gave your time to? Hold on a second, Laura's checking. Does anyone know who Kelly gave their time to?
It says NA, not applicable. So I don't know who you gave your time
Kelly, how do you want us to proceed? Thanks for stepping up.
Hi, my name is Miss Jo. I've cleaned our schools. I've worked serving food, doing dishes. I had the opportunity to start 2 ILC programs. I've also got to start 3 I CAN programs, and I really appreciate the job. I'm so thankful that I get up in the morning and I have a job where I can maybe change a life. I currently work at Halcyon. 7 of my students from other schools ended up at Halcyon. This year, 3 of them are graduating, and they're going to be returned back to regular public schools. So I do know that I am making a difference here. I want to thank Mr. Garcia for teaching me when I was a young girl to get into education, because you could truly change people's lives. And I wanted to let you know I've been with BVSD a long time. I went to school here from K through 12. My 4 children went through BVSD school. Now I have, I'm a single parent mom. Not only did my students graduate, but all of them were accepted into college. And this coming year, my son will be graduating from CSU. He wants to be a teacher, and he's going to continue on with my legacy. I'm getting old. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be able to do this, but I'm thankful for having a job where I could change people's lives. And I just want to let you know that my pay scale doesn't match what the cost of living is, and if you could please take that into consideration. And did I tell you I'm a single parent mom? Thank you so much.
Excuse. But before you step back too far, can you just tell us your name, please? Richard, do you know her name? Can you tell us your name, please, just because you were not Kelly Bailey, so I just need to keep track of who was talking. All right, thanks. Next, we have Jeffrey Nutt.
Hi, my name is Jeffrey Nutt. I work out of the Boulder Transportation Terminal, Route 504, Sugarloaf. I transport up to 31 students a day in servicing Boulder High School, Flatirons Elementary, and then transferring students from to Manhattan and Casey. About 23 years ago, I moved into the Boulder County area, and one of the reasons I did is because of the reputation of the Boulder Valley School District. Being a parent and having 2 children and having a child with special needs, transportation was an important part of that school district. We were very fortunate because we had Eddie. Eddie could take a 26,000-pound vehicle, bring it down the street into our neighborhood, and put it right on the curb safely and on a timely basis, and we were very grateful to have Eddie. More recently, there was an incident on the University of Colorado campus where a certain individual was threatening the particular neighborhood. Uni Hill had to be evacuated. The evacuation was done because of the transportation specialist for the Boulder Valley School District. All of those vehicles came in to evacuate those students and the staff and get them over here to the education center. And they did it quickly, on time, and safely. So I don't want you to think of us as bus drivers or aides or routers or dispatchers. Think of us as transportation specialists, and please consider the compensation for that and review that as for the transportation specialist. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Cindy Ullman.
So my name is Cindy Ullman, as they already said. I've worked for BVSD in food services for over 9+ years, and I love what I do, like all of us. We love what we do. I've received hundreds of thankful letters from parents and students telling me I'm a ray of sunshine, I'm a safe place, I'm a shiny, bright thing for their kids to come to feel nourished in body and soul. And that's important, and I would think you would value that. Last week was Staff Appreciation Week, and what did BVSD do for us? Instead of paying us what we need and deserved, they gave us pins. Pins do not pay bills. Pins do not put food on the table. BVSD has a critical staffing shortage. In culinary services alone, there's a 38% staff turnover. It's impossible to get enough people to work with culinary services, feeding all our children nutritious, delicious food, because the pay is so low. And it's impossible to keep the levels concurrent with the cost of living. How equitable is it for BVSD to only offer us 3.5% quota when the cost of living increase in our county is 10%? Groceries have gone up 8.5%. Many of us who work in food services need to work other jobs in order to put food on the table for our own children. That's crazy. We deserve more. You can give us more. You can choose to reward us more for the good work we've put in during a critical pandemic 2 years. Loyal employees are hard to find, and unless you do something about our cost, what we get paid, it'll cost you even more to replace us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Susan Dellinger, who's been given 2 minutes by Minerva Rivera.
Good evening. Nobody knows me here, so we'll start. My name is Susan Dellinger. I'd like to thank you for your time this evening. Having had the opportunity over the years to serve as a city council president, a foster parent, and on various boards, I respect you all for committing your time and your community and your constituents, to your community and your constituents. As a concerned citizen of the county with no kids in your district and understanding the importance of education to a community, I am here to offer you a public perspective based on my experiences. The mission of our Boulder Valley School District is described throughout the web design and itemized in the reasons to work for the district. It speaks to teams and the teamwork necessary so that all our children thrive and are prepared for successful lives. Our district superintendent and administrators are recognized as integral parts of supporting that mission by being paid at the highest percentile for their job classification. However, we must acknowledge the fact that no manager or administrator can provide the on-ground services necessary to fulfill any mission. The teams who are at the forefront with our kids every day, those who provide support services from transportation to food service to custodial and maintenance staff, those who rush to aid our community when evacuating the hospital during the Marshall Fire, and still support those families by bringing their kids to school from all over the Front Range, those who actually sustain the team aspect of our mission statement are ironically the ones being told they play a less valuable role in our mission, and their pay reflects that polarity. This discrepancy extends to divisions within a department. Discussions include allowing some division members more ability for increases than others in the same department. In my experience, you cannot inconsistently value one part of a team more than another and be successful. I am a private sector transportation manager, and I know as well as you how difficult it has become to find quality employees committed to our missions. We must now be competitive in a much wider circle. We must offer improved pay scales, better benefits, and consistent, fair management. We have to do everything possible to get and retain committed staff, knowing how rare they are to find. For our community to be successful, we must value and invest in the folks helping us provide our services. BVSD Class C employees are asking for consistent salary opportunities throughout their departments at the 75th percentile of their job classifications. Making that commitment to support these employees and constituents will make it easier for the community to get and retain the staff we need to fulfill our mission. I believe being leaders who support commitment to our employees needs to be viewed as a priority for our education system and kids' success. We cannot provide education to the community without this team. Please fix this problem. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next, we have Deborah Jensen.
She emailed that she was not going to speak tonight.
Okay. Next, we have a virtual with Jennifer Nunemacher.
Hello, my name is Jenny. Oops. Yeah, sorry, I thought I was muted. My name is Jenny Nunemacher. My son Oscar is a 10th grader at Netherland Middle Senior High School. He played for Centaurus High School hockey this past year on both the JV and varsity teams and received a varsity letter. He has played hockey since he was 3, and he loves hockey, and he wants to have fun playing hockey. He has been invited over the years to play, and we have even offered to support him to play with more competitive teams. But he had no interest in playing with a competitive club like Boulder Hockey Club or even Monarch when he became old enough to try out, because he didn't want to play for the most, quote, competitive team. He didn't think it would be very fun to be focused on winning above all else. So when he learned about the Centaurus hockey team last summer and participated in the preseason clinics, he changed his mind about trying out for the Chassa hockey in BVSD because he knew the other players that were trying out for Centaurus, and he knew the coaches, and he knew that they would make hockey fun while he continued to improve his skills. You have already heard the proposal that we made and the facts that we, the broader BVSD hockey community, have collected to support our proposal to have a second team at Broomfield, which was covered by Lori Punko. And you've also heard from Ms. Punko as well as Mr. Martin earlier about how Mr. Waterman's response does not seem to reflect the current situation and potential solutions. Lastly, there's widespread perception that high school hockey teams must always be competitive in order to be valuable and or sustainable. But I would like to say that the joy my son and his teammates at Centaurus experienced refutes that perception. They went only 8-11 on the season, and they almost got to 500. They improved so much from day one to the end. And so I'd just like to remind you of a few points with regards to the argument about competitiveness in Boulder Valley hockey. As in my son's case, the quote, best is not always the most important thing. Success in competition can be defined in many ways, from sportsmanship, athletic and academic balance, growth during the season, and social emotional benefits of being involved on the team. So I would like to ask you to support expanding Boulder hockey at high school. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is David Vandermeer.
Hello there. My name is David Vandermeer, and I'm a school bus driver here at BVSD. I wrote a little speech, but I think I'm going to go off script because everything in it has been said by someone else here. I live way out east in Frederick, and I commute here because I love it here. I know I could probably get the same job with better pay and a shorter commute at either St. Vrain or Thompson Valley school districts, but I love this place, and that's why I choose to keep coming. I don't know if that's going to make sense financially at this rate. Everything is more expensive, including gas and groceries, so I have to really think about that. So when we say we need a raise, I mean, we need a raise. You've heard from so many people here who want to keep coming, but they're not sure if they can anymore. We're at a limit, we're at a breaking point there, and you're gonna see more turnover if we can't meet that with some sort of pay raise. So I'd like to speak to what that turnover means. I'm also qualified to say, my little brother he has severe autism, and he's at the ILC program at Centaurus High School. So I can tell you firsthand, I've seen my mom break down and cry when a para leaves and even if we're lucky enough to get him replaced by a new good para, because guess what? You have to build rapport again from scratch. My brother needs that routine, someone who knows his needs, and when that isn't there, he can't make any progress. He needs full-time care. So pretty much the only hours out of my mom's entire life that she has any freedom are the hours when he's at school. Whether or not he gets to ride a school bus that picks him up and drops him off, that's another hour of her life back that we're at very real risk of losing when there aren't enough staff to cover it. There are days he's had to go home early, not for anything he did, but because there just aren't enough paras to help the one teacher running that whole ILC program that he has to go home. They don't have the need, they can't meet his needs anymore. That's dangerous for him, for all of us in this community. You gotta help us. We just need a raise so we can live.
Thank you. Next, we have Tish Silby.
Hi, my name is Tish Silby. I'm a proud parent of a hockey player at Broomfield High School. And we're asking you to consider fielding a Broomfield High School hockey team this coming season. Everything is set up and ready to go. You need to do nothing but say yes. We already have a high number of kids to play, as the U16 and U18 AA hockey teams are being eliminated from the local clubs and being directed to high school hockey. These are skilled and talented hockey players. We do not have enough high school hockey teams up north here for the number of kids that play. Even after Monarch fields their JV and varsity teams, we will still have close to 100 kids who will have nowhere to go. We all just have to hope and pray that our kids will make the Monarch teams. Most of these kids are wanting to play juniors and college hockey and may have to make alternative choices to get there. They will have to possibly homeschool outside of BVSD to be able to play for another team, or they will have to leave BVSD schools and play outside of the state. You are taking away opportunities for these kids if you say no. Broomfield High School is known for their amazing athletics, and our kids deserve the same opportunity. This would be like removing football, baseball, soccer teams and only having one team for all of BVSD and saying good luck. That's basically where we are with hockey right now. We are asking you to think about these kids and reconsider. Imagine the excitement a new hockey team could bring to Broomfield High School. BVSD has the opportunity to be the hero here. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Yolanda Trujillo.
Hello, my name is Yolanda Trujillo. I live in Lafayette, but I grew up in Louisville. I am a Centaurus High graduate, class of '81. I do live with my parents. I have worked at Boulder Valley School District now for over 16 years. 1 year in food service, and that is hard work. The other years as a bus assistant. I help special needs children on the bus. What does that look like? It's hooking up children who are in wheelchairs, hooking up children who have to wear a safety harness, who have to be in star seats, and some buses have seat belts. It includes reading a book to them, singing a song, talking to them, or leaving them alone. But it also looks like this, as the pictures I gave you. Bruises, fat lips from being head-butted, concussions, which I've had. We wore a helmet with one certain student, and the anxiety that I now have. All that came with one route that I worked on for 5.5 years. Transporting who is known as one of BVSD's most difficult special needs child. They have now aged out. The other thing that goes with this job is knowing when I can go to Sister Carmen Food Bank twice a month to fulfill my needs that I have with my parents. During the summer, I have to go to the food share program that they have at the Clinicus parking lot one time during that summertime. And my other thought is, can I stretch my December paycheck long enough so that I can have a decent Christmas? Most of the time, not. And then this summer, when I go bid for my upcoming route, I have to think, will I get the usual 16 hours a week for 5 weeks? Or am I going to get lucky enough to get the 20-hour route for 5 weeks? We do deserve a better wage, living wage. During these years also,
So we're going to have to ask you to wrap it up. Sorry, keep going for a few minutes.
Sorry.
That's
so
all right.
just saying that everything everyone does, drivers, aides, food service, custodians, they work extremely hard.
Thank you. Thank you. Next, we have Beth Stevens, who's been given 2 minutes by Patrick Parker.
Hi, my name is Beth Stevens, and I've been a bus driver with the district for 7 years. My story begins with the life of a bus driver. We do a job that few would consider and most would not even attempt. Ask us to drive into a massive fire, evacuate an entire school because of a nearby dangerous situation? Absolutely. Without hesitation, that is who we are. But we are so much more. We are well into our day by the time most people are pouring their first cup of coffee. We prepare our buses in the dark and often extreme cold of the winters and bake in an oven as the temps reach the high 90s in the afternoons of late summer and fall. Our days are long and often uncomfortable. We drive in ever-changing and unpredictable road conditions with the safety of our students always on our minds. Our heads are on constant swivel as we watch out for the hundreds of other drivers that don't even seem to be aware of our big yellow bus, our flashing red lights, stop signs, and most importantly, children crossing the street. We are entrusted with the many lives in the seats behind us. If we make a mistake, it can be our worst nightmare come true. The weight on our shoulders is immense. We care deeply for our students and their families. They become part of our lives. We pray with them, laugh with them, and hurt with them. Most people do not realize the bonds of trust that are formed on bus rides, nor do they realize how emotional, stressful, and rewarding this job can be. Even though I'm a bus driver, I am here for all Unit C employees. With the skyrocketing costs of living, we are asking to be in one of the top 3 districts across the Front Range for our respective positions and pay. We feel that this is a reasonable request. Right now, many of our departments are critically understaffed, and this is putting a strain on everyone. We feel if the district would pay a living wage, we could get some interest for these hard-to-fill positions. I am hopeful, after hearing our stories tonight, that you will support us and our dedication to BVSD by advising our administrative team to come back to the negotiations table and provide us with an equitable offer that will allow us to continue our important jobs as essential support professionals. We're tired of being valued less than our worth. Right now, you have a choice. As one of the most expensive school districts to live in the state of Colorado, you can choose to show others that you value your employees equally by paying your classified employees a living wage, or you can choose to be the district nobody can afford to work for. I know what my choice would be. What's yours?
Thank you. Next, we have Joseph Palcic.
Good evening. I am here to speak on behalf of the student athletes for Broomfield High School hockey team. Students first is a mantra in many school districts. The message we are sending our students is completely the opposite. As a public school educator, we ask for the public's support, and all they ask in return is to support their students. We are here to tell you tonight that these students are not being supported. You are forcing families to make the decision of leaving BVSD and open enroll in another district, or possibly private schools, or even other states. Millions of students around the country get to say they play for their high school, but the young men and women in this room do not. We are sending a terrible message to our youth while waiting to form a Broomfield High School team. Students see that we have the players, we have the ice rink, we have the ice time, we have the coaches, and we have the parent support to make this happen now. They ask, why can't we have our team? Education is about differentiation. And here we are asking to differentiate for a certain group of students. Let's not exclude a certain population when all they want is a place to call home. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jeff Goldstein.
Hi, my name is Jeff Goldstein. I'm a relief driver in Boulder. I didn't have any prepared comments, but I'm really proud to be working with this group of people, and I hope you feel that too and appreciate it. A few years ago, I was known for driving some pretty rough vehicles to work that were smoking and barely getting there. I drove a Honda Civic into the ground. Then I inherited a Toyota from my dad and drove it until it was smoking. And there was a somewhat colorful employee who no longer works with us anymore. He's retired. Dennis Manjan? Maston, thank you. He said to me, Jeff, when are you going to take a blowtorch to that padlock on your wallet and buy yourself a decent car? So I guess my question to BVSD administration and the superintendent and the board is, when are you going to take a blowtorch to that padlock on your wallet and pay us? Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Timothy Osborne.
How's this, Laura? This good? Okay. I started working for the school district in June 1989. It was a good job for me. I got $12 an hour, but it was a very sad time for the school district. As a mechanic, I worked over a year and a half, maybe 2 years, getting the buses up to snuff and being safe. After so many years, my body started to get a little bit not working as a mechanic anymore, so I became a driver. So I went up to the driver's lounge and asked the other drivers, what should I bid for? I've got 10 years of seniority. And they said, Tim, the best job you can do as a driver is to drive those kids in middle school. After that, I do not need to go to the Himalayas or deep sea dive. I get all the excitement I needed from those kids. And thank you very much. And the last thing I wanted to mention is, I know you guys are shy. You may understand what our jobs are, but I'm not sure you have the knowledge. So if you could take some straw and pick some straws, I would advise you to hang out with a school bus driver. You can choose anyone you want. They'll be happy to have you. Or go to the cafeteria or whatever. We extend the invitation.
Thank you. The next speaker is Virginia Schultz.
Hello, I'm Virginia Schultz. I work in the culinary kitchen. I've been with UCSB for 14 years. I have a couple complaints. One is people are coming in at the wage it took me 14 years to get, and they're already making that. Second of all, you guys forgot us last year. We did not get a raise last year because they said that you couldn't really give us any raises because there's nothing to compare our job to. So could you please find a comparison? And we'd like our back pay if that's possible. Also, we do work in extreme conditions. Freezing cold, extremely hot. A lot of people start at 5 o'clock in the morning. A lot of us don't get off until 7. So we are very functional, hardworking people. We make everything basically from scratch. You don't get packaged goods. We are now short 6 people compared to before the Culinary Center opened. We had 3 kitchens. We now have 1. Even though it's larger, we don't have the people that were in the 3rd kitchen. Plus, all the kids got fed free this year. So, we even had double work. We did not get our raise. We need our raise. We need everything you can give us. I have to look at my notes real quick. That's about it. That's all I have to say. But please look into the fact that we did not get any raises last year, where everybody else did. So we would like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Richard Moran.
Hello, my name is Richard Morin. I'm a production cook at the Culinary Center. I've worked for food services for 15 years. And like Virginia was saying, at the beginning of the year, other members of food service moved up in pay range, had an increase in pay. I guess there wasn't anything to compare our jobs to, so specifically to the production cook job. So even on this new agreement, my job title isn't listed there at all, where other members are. So my concern is that we'll be overlooked again, since we weren't mentioned in this negotiation. So the reality of it over there is that our workload, our responsibilities, the skill sets, expectations have all increased tremendously. And I think that it's important and necessary for us to be included and compensated accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Philip Armour.
Hello, my name is Philip Armour. I'm a new bus driver, and I showed up to show solidarity to my fellow workers because I respect them immensely. Both the drivers, the mechanics, the food service people, the custodians, and the paras. I have 2 children in BBSD, and my wife moved 2 children through the whole process. We both have master's degrees. We've made 6 figures. We've sat where you're sitting. These people are all incredibly educated, emotionally intelligent, legitimately educated, and intellectually intelligent, and incredibly committed people. And I just want to challenge you to consider what a privilege it is to take advantage of other people's dedication. These people could be working anywhere. They could be making more money anywhere. But they work for BVSD because they respect what the school district does for children and how it enables people to go to work and make money while other people are driving their kids or feeding their kids or cleaning up after their kids. We keep the economy moving, and it's a privilege to take advantage of other people's love and dedication. And I urge you to pay these people more, to pay us more. There's no way I could do this job if I didn't make money elsewhere. And that's offensive to me. So please step up for these people.
Thank you. Next, we have Jose Martinez.
Hello, thanks for having us here. My name is Jose Martinez, and I am an alcoholic. Well, wrong meeting. Wrong meeting. I think we have all said what we need to say. There's big need for us to survive here. You know how expensive this town is. You know how difficult it is to get a job that is not full-time. And so any help will really be appreciated. And you have the power to do so. So thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Pamela Helsper.
Good evening. I feel very privileged to be here this evening and speaking my behalf and also my fellow workers. So thank you for allowing us to chew at your ear for 2-3 hours. what I have to say is nothing new. I think you guys have heard it. We're hurting. We're not able to sustain our lives. I work 3 jobs. It just blows my mind that because I know this job is important, but yet our cries fall on deaf ears. And I don't understand why. You've heard from everybody that we're very dedicated. We've got Boulder Valley School District's back. And that's a fact. Who was there when the fire broke out? Within hours, Boulder Valley School District buses lined up to help evacuate a hospital. That made you guys look good. It made us proud. Now it's time to turn that pride into dollars, because we need you to have our back. Again, I said I worked 3 jobs. Last month, $1,600 was my paycheck. That is not the amount of time that I worked, but payroll system got messed up, and okay, maybe you'll get it next month. So there's a definite problem, and I don't understand. Your value statement says that value accountability and transparency at all levels. There's a problem there. Please, if you could help us and check into that. I feel we're valued enough to do that. And I know it was set for 2 minutes, but actually I had 2 more minutes from someone had given me, so that was kind of incorrect. So may I have 2 more minutes?
I didn't have a record of the gifting of the minutes.
If you
Okay,
can just
Minerva
continue.
gave me 2 minutes, but I don't
If you can
see
just
it.
continue, go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
And wrap, go ahead.
And just to get back with the mission statement that is already approved. This is what Boulder Valley is telling the whole world. This is what our mission is. You guys aren't living up to it. We are, because we got your back. When you say that a unique living or unique learning needs of each student to create a meaningful and engaging opportunity for each child, that's in your mission statement under goals. Well, that's a wonderful thing. I see children every day being shuttled here, 4 miles there, over here. You know what? If you didn't have transportation watching your back, you couldn't do any of that. Nothing. I think after COVID, the world was proved that when transportation goes down, people suffer. And, you know, just of the parents that had their kids home for a year during COVID, they were almost at wit's end, get those schools back into session. So we're there, we're your vehicle, and we're just asking for a fair shake because we're not able to make it. I show up for work every day, and I work my hardest, and it doesn't matter, 20 hours. There's more work. You know, we deserve the same pay that St. Vrain, same pay Adam 12. Boulder is not keeping up. And I enjoy my job. I enjoy working for Boulder Valley. I thank you for your time, and I also beg you to please consider getting to know us as a transportation, because we really are covering your back. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to circle back just to 3 people who weren't here when I called them initially. The first person was Dana Scholbrook. Is she remote or not?
She canceled.
She canceled? Okay, thank you. I saw the hockey families leave, so I'm assuming Brenda de Saint Simone is gone. So I saw them leave. And then William Rosenbaum. Okay, that concludes our public.
I was on the list the very first day it was put out, and I would love to share with you, but if you don't have time, I appreciate that.
That's fine.
Just pay us.
Can you just tell me your name? I'm fine making time for you.
What's that?
I'm fine making time for you. Just tell us your name and,
You can go up.
yeah, go ahead.
Thomas Casey.
Okay, we'll write you down, Mr. Casey. You need to turn the mic on though, because we.
Push the person.
There you go, you got it.
Sorry for the rudeness. I'm a Boulder native. There might not be very many in this room. I went to Whittier, I went to Casey, I went to Boulder High. 37 years ago, 38 by the way, this June, I met my lovely wife driving the school buses for Boulder Valley Schools. I then went on to work for myself and be in construction world. My wife put herself through the University of Colorado on a part-time position, driving the school bus. It wasn't much, but she had a second job. She would leave there, go to school, and then work at night downtown Boulder on a mall at a restaurant. Let me ask you something. Did you walk around your car this morning before you decided to start your day? Lifted the hood, checked all the necessary elements before starting it? I hope you did. I hope you thumped the tires, checked the lights, emergency doors. You get the picture. Have you cleared your path and now are ready to greet each and every person that comes onto your bus and each and every mom and dad that greets you at the door? Every day you turn on a light. You flush a toilet. You eat lunch. You have something to eat. Are you thankful? These are the essentials of life. Take a moment to really take in the thought of a team. Teams win together. Your together message and your pin message don't work. Heroes get hoisted on shoulders and are celebrated. Transportation, food service, electricians, plumbers, dispatchers, custodians, and our mechanics are to be counted on your team. Please consider and make a very, very good decision and keep these amazing people in your district and on your payroll. Thank you.
Break. Do you want a break? All right, thank you very much. I think this then concludes our public participation for the evening. We really do appreciate you all taking time and coming and talking to us, and I think we're just going to take a very short break. You're welcome to stay, you're welcome to leave. It's up to all of you.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to call this meeting back to order, and the next, I'm supposed to take this down. Thank you, Laura, for giving me little hints about what I'm supposed to be doing. The next item on our agenda is board communication. Board members, does anybody want to go first? Wait, let me start with those who are remote. Lisa or Kitty, do either of you have any board communication so I don't forget to ask you?
Sure, I can go.
Okay, Lisa, go ahead. Only we can't see you right now, and I don't know why, but go ahead, we can hear you.
Okay, well, my camera's on and I can see me in the Google meeting, so I think it's because there's a presentation on the screen.
Yeah, I think that's right. Which we're taking care of right now.
Okay, well, do you want me to wait or should
Nope.
I go?
Go ahead. There you are. Oh, we almost had you. Keep going, Lisa. We'll figure it out at this end.
Okay. I just wanted to say thank you to all of the classified employees who spoke tonight. I definitely heard everything you had to say, you know, and I guess I just wanted to add that in my day job, I run a homeless shelter for mothers of small children, and I'm a single mom myself. So everything I'm hearing tonight about the cost of living and how difficult it is to meet ends meet, I mean, I really hear what you're saying, and I look forward to hearing more about this from staff in the upcoming weeks, and I really appreciate you coming to speak. That's all.
Thank you. Kitty, are you still on? Do you have anything you want to put on during board communication?
Yeah, I just would want to echo Lisa in thanking the folks who came and thanking the parents who came and spoke to us today. And just one thing I am concerned about is the ERP and the folks not getting paid. So I hope that really gets resolved immediately. And that's all I have.
Thanks, Kitty. Anyone else who's here at the board table? Richard?
Echo from Lisa and Kitty, and I want to thank the classified employees that were here tonight, and I also want to thank the hockey parents and the hockey students, especially the students, because we always enjoy listening to our students. I have just a few things I would like to say. One is I am a firm believer, and I have always been, of fighting for a living wage. I have done this in my former things that I've done. When I started, when I got out of the service, I worked as a union organizer, and I understand all the aspects around unionizing. So I am a firm believer in trying to figure out how we can get our employees up to a living wage. And that's the theme that I kept hearing all along in terms of the comments that were being made by our classified employees, plus a bunch of other stuff. And so I'm looking forward to see where we land with our negotiations, and hopefully we can get to a place where we can actually keep us whole in terms of our budget, and also give our classified employees the support that they need. So, and just to add too, that I was at the Conectando meeting last night at Centaurus, and I was particularly happy to see all the families that showed up and all their comments that they had, and their concerns that they shared with us, and I'm looking forward to the one at Fairview.
Nicole?
Thanks. So I just wanted to echo what everybody's been saying, and to say thank you to everybody that showed up tonight, and to everybody that continues to email us on some of these very important topics. And while I may not respond to every email, I do read each and every one of them. I also believe that everyone deserves to make a living wage, and I also believe that extracurricular activities are an important aspect of student life, and that process is important. It was great to hear stories being shared by our BVCEA employees tonight. I've attended a couple of the negotiation meetings as an observer, and that was a part that was really missing from that, I felt, and so it was great to hear your stories outright. I know there's little we can do as a board to impact those negotiations processes, but I really do hope we can address some of the issues that were specifically identified tonight, and see how we can make, to Richard's point, this work within our budget. I also want to say regarding the hockey parents, I was approached early on in my role here from field hockey parents, and I discovered that there weren't a lot of clear policies, and some of our policies are pretty old with regard to extracurricular activities and student organizations. And I think that there's an opportunity for us to improve some of those policies and look at some CASB example policies, and so I'll bring that up during agenda setting later today. Two other things. Prior to getting elected, I was contacted by students from East Grand School District about them trying to change our school dress code policies. And I've been in contact with them ever since. They have been using our dress code policies as an example and advocating for, on their behalf, in part as a result of what we've done. So I just want to share that with the board members, that our policies are impacting outcomes for students not only in our district, but in other districts across the state. And if anybody knows board members on the East Grand School District, if you could put in a plug for how well our dress code policies have been working, those students would be really happy. Last but not least, May is an incredibly busy month here in BVSD, and it has been such a pleasure to attend all of our community events and to see our families and our students and our teachers. And I just appreciate every opportunity I get as a board member to connect with our community. So just want to say thanks for all those opportunities.
Beth?
Yeah, I think a lot of it's already been said. I have a bunch of notes, but I think I'll just somewhat echo what my other fellow board members have said. I really appreciate all the comments and the public speakers tonight. I know that it takes courage and to share your stories and bring them out to us, and we really appreciate that. Like Nicole said, I may not respond to every email, but I read every one, and we appreciate your thoughts. We heard about, your professional backgrounds and your passion for the work and your dedication. We heard a lot about the challenges tonight, too. And of course, I certainly support a living wage, and I am looking forward to, hearing from our leadership in the future about what we can do and how we can, as Richard put it, keep ourselves whole moving forward.
Stacy?
I'll also thank everybody. Before I was a board member, I have been to these public comments and have sat through all of that. And so I know how it's difficult to sit through and listen to everybody until it's actually your turn. So I just wanted to thank everyone for coming. And it is nice to have everybody in person again, other than just on Zoom.
And coming at the end of the line, I don't have a whole lot to add, but one comment that I made a note of that I was kind of struck by was that one of our classified employees felt like we had deaf ears, and I just want to assure that person and all of the people who showed up that there isn't a deaf ear anywhere in this room, and that we listen to you and we care about you, and we really appreciate all that you do for us and for our students and for our families and for our community, and we do understand that without you, we wouldn't be able to function. So thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for showing up tonight. It really was heartwarming to see the room full of people who are passionate and who care about our students and our community and our school district. So heartfelt thanks, and I do look forward to hearing how these negotiations proceed. And thank you all for showing up. So I think that's it for board comment. So I think we're going to move on next to our, unless anybody has anything else they want to add before I close out board comment. I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Anderson, to introduce our information item, please.
Thank you, Board President Gephardt. I'm pleased to introduce Tammy Lawrence, our Director of Student Supports. She's going to walk the board and community through some of the many trauma supports we've been providing. Board members, as you and our community knows, this has been a really tough year and an incredibly tough semester with the Marshall fires on top of the pandemic. And so we've found that we've really had to step up the trauma supports that we provide for our kids and our employees, quite frankly, in the face of many of these tragedies. And so Tammy's here to give us a brief overview on some of the work that we've been doing, some of the feedback we've received, and then some of the additional supports that we've added over the course of the past year. So Tammy, whenever you're technologically ready, we'll turn it over to you.
There we go. Thank you.
right. Thank you for your patience. Good evening, President Gebhardt, members of the board, and Dr. Anderson. I'm Tammy Lawrence, Director of Student Support Services, and I just thank you for this opportunity to come speak to you this evening about the supports that we've been able to provide. Some of you may remember back in October, Katie Romero and I presented on our social emotional learning supports and our trauma supports that we have available for all of our students and staff in BVSD. At that time, we shared with you our continuums of social emotional learning supports, and we are continuing to use this as our guide. It really shares with the system our universal supports and what we're doing for students, and that's really all of our staff working with our students. If students need targeted support, this identifies who those staff members are, as well as those students that need intensive support and the activities that happen within each of those areas. We are working really closely with our special education department as well as our MTSS department to really refine this and what this looks like so that we can ensure that we're utilizing all of our supports and resources in the best way possible to meet the needs of our students. When we talked about this back in October, we were really talking about coming back from the pandemic and how we're providing supports for students. The one thing that we didn't know that was coming up was the Marshall fires and how that would impact our community. So with that, I'm going to share with you just some overview of what the trauma response teams provided through those first initial days, months, and what we're currently doing to provide supports. So through that, we had 10 teams that were dispatched throughout our community. We had one here at the Ed Center, and then we had 9 that went to schools, as well as we were fortunate enough to have supports provided to us by Adams 12 and St. Vrain. We had many folks reach out to us, but Colorado Department of Education was quick to respond, as well as the Colorado Society for School Psychologists and the crisis response team for the state. We were able to send trauma supports to families and staff members, and we were also able to support many staff members with the support of HR and our EAP supports. Our initial response data, so for the first 3 weeks of the response, we had sent out through communications 3 initial referral forms for them. They were for students, they were for staff, and they were for virtual support. We knew initially that we would be providing support here at the Ed Center the first couple of days, but we quickly had to pivot to a virtual supporting system at that time. We had an increase of COVID levels at the same time that we were returning and trying to support. Through those 3 referrals, we had 557 that we received. 349 were for staff members and 208 were for students. With our Ed Center support and our 9-school location, 995 students were seen, many with multiple visits with their either school counselor or trauma response team member. What that support looks like really is individualized for either the student, the staff member, or the parents. We have been working alongside and walking with parents through this and trying to help support them as well. So our school counselors, our mental health advocates, our school social workers, psychs, our trauma response teams are either providing individual support, small group supports. We're connecting them to community resources. At the beginning, it was a lot of questions about where do I go? How do I get the supports needed? Sometimes they needed help walking through applications and different paperwork, and our teams were helping support that. We were able to arrange for PD and supporting documents, and we just continue with that continuums of support, what was needed, and we were in the moment trying to create those supports for everyone. Here's a list, and for all of you, if you have the PowerPoint, you've got links to each of these. We first created that trauma response resource for staff after the King Soopers tragedy. We were thankful that we had that document already, but we were able to alter this one and make it more specific to the Marshall fires. We created administrator, teacher, and parent resources on how to talk to students through a crisis. And then just additional educator guide on how for tips for talking for students. We created a video about how to take care of yourself and knowing the importance of when we're in the middle of trauma, how important it is to check in with ourselves before checking in with students. And then different props for supporting students. Teachers really wanted some guides when they return to students, like how do I work through difficult conversations with students as they return to the classroom. And then we were very fortunate to receive many resources throughout the community for the Marshall Fires, but we wanted to bring them all into one place. And so with the help of many, we were able to create a document for that resource list. So here's our timeline on the response. And the initial response we received in communication through our incidents, through our internal communications, and just following along with that, reached out to our trauma response team shortly after the fire started to let them know that we were in communication with district leadership and that we would connect back with them. We had a stand-up meeting at around 4 o'clock that afternoon, and just prior to that stand-up meeting, I was watching the news and could see how devastating the fires were already to our community, knowing how many staff members that we had living in this area, as well as our students in the schools that were impacted. Knew that this response was going to be much bigger than our trauma response teams have ever really responded to. So through that meeting, immediately contacted a counterpart in Adams 12, was fortunate enough to work with her in my previous position, and so quickly, within an hour, we had documents signed up, ready to go for their teams to start signing up for those first 2 initial days when we returned. So here at the Ed Center, knowing that we would have stand-up support ready for staff and any students that needed it at that time. The following days, when I connected with St. Vrain, again, I worked with Johnny and Adams 12 prior to here, so it was an easy text, and they were immediately on it, and within an hour and a half, they had teams ready to be here with us on that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Then through that, we had our walk-in center that we set up here. And again, I think it was probably the most amazing thing, not knowing what we were going to have walk through the door, and then learning that there was multiple communications that were happening. We had a tremendous staff of Adams 12 employees and BVSD employees that really worked together, never working together before, but knowing trauma response. We had tables set up that was able to dispatch our virtual, and it was in this room here. We had multiple tables, and they would have virtual meetings. Everyone had their earphones on, and they were able to provide that support in the moment. So we were able to do that on Monday and Tuesday. And then Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, both Adams 12 and St. Vrain was able to help support our schools in getting them open. We had a total of 139 trauma response team members, and that included all of our BVSD trauma response staff as well. We had many trauma response staff members also impacted by the fire, and so they were even checking in to say, I'm currently not able to help, but please know that I'm thinking about all of you, and we appreciate the support. So it was amazing to hear their dedication to that trauma response during that difficult time. The following week, we continued with our response and had teams set up in our schools. Not all 9 schools needed additional supports, but some did. So we were able to do that. We were also working very closely with our mental health partners, knowing that all of our staff was really stretched thin during that time. They took that parent component and was offering support for parents throughout the community. And then moving forward, we continue to support. We hired 2 mental health advocates immediately after. We provided small and individual support for schools. We had PD that was available for parents, and then working to hire additional supports for next year. This is one of the feedback pieces that we got from Adams 12, and I'm sharing this with you just because I want to highlight the absolute amazing staff that we have. Our trauma response team is all volunteers. They are school counselors, social workers, psychologists, mental health advocates in our buildings that have full-time jobs, and they really truly are amazing humans that come to when we need them the most, as well as the other teams that help support through that. Our current support that we have, we offered a virtual training for parents and staff on April 11th that was really around strategies for stress and anxiety and trauma and how to stay strong during challenging times. We also have currently 2 drop-in meetings for parents, one in the Louisville area and one in the Superior area, Tuesdays and Thursdays, from 5:30 to 7. Kaiser, we currently have a Kaiser Permanente grant that is funding our RISE work that we're doing. They gave us a $73,000 donation to help support our families. And so we were using that to get our staff trained, provide food for our families, provide childcare for our families, and we're currently offering those on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5:30 to 7. And then we're also working with Kaiser to hopefully create a Cultivating Wellbeing resource hub for educators, and we'll hopefully have this launched for next year. Additional mental health supports that we have been very fortunate to receive additional funding from the state and the federal government, as well as Impact on Education. And through that, we have been able to hire additional school counselors for next year. They're currently being posted and hired now. It's temporary funding through next year, as well as additional mental health advocates that will be helping support through the summer, as well as supporting into next year, and some at McKinney-Vento, additional supports for McKinney-Vento. And this is just one of the art pieces that our students created for everyone, and through that trauma response really worked to figure out different ways that we could help support our students. And just really want to thank everybody. Really it took all of us coming together to support. Thanks to all of you board members for helping support, and whatever we needed, our Dr. De La Cruz and Dr. Anderson and anybody that was here, whatever we needed, we had. And so we truly appreciate that support and look forward to continuing to support our students and our families next year.
Thank you. Board members, first we'll start with Lisa or Kitty. Do you have any questions?
Yes, I do. I'm not familiar with all of the initialisms and acronyms, so I would like to know what is CASEL, PBIS, and SST.
So CASEL is our National Social Emotional Learning Network. PBIS is our, totally forgetting the acronym.
Positive Behaviors
Thank you.
Intervention Supports.
Thank you, and that's what our schools do to create those systems and structures and routines and rituals within their schools. And our SSTs are student support team meetings that we have in our buildings to really help support our students. Conversations with teachers, administrators, mental health staff, and special education staff to help support students in whatever needs that they have.
Thank you.
Kitty, any other questions?
No.
Thanks. Lisa, questions?
No questions. Just thanks for the incredible work. This trauma response to the fire was just really above and beyond.
Board members, questions? Richard, questions?
No, I just want to thank you for your great work that you did. Thank you.
Nicole or Beth? Nicole?
I just want to thank you for this work. We're hearing overwhelmingly how heavily impacted our students are by trauma and how that's playing out in behavioral issues in the classrooms and in the community. And so this work is really important. As part of the universal approaches, you mentioned the PBIS, and we have some restorative justice practices. And I wonder, I feel like I've also been hearing that they're not consistently applied in a universal approach or with fidelity at some of our schools. It's just been a tough year. And I wonder if there's anything we are doing regarding progress monitoring for those restorative justice practices and our PBIS programs at the different school level as a district to make sure we can continue to be successful in those areas so students are showing up ready to learn.
Yes, so we are currently working through all of those. I think the big difference, and it's not that it hasn't happened before, but the MTSS team and the special education team and the student support services team, with the support of our leadership, is really working collaboratively to fine tune what that looks like. So looking at our system, where we are now, where we want to be, and what do we need to do to get to that position, and that's really the focused work for next year, so that we can really refine that work and make sure that we are meeting the needs of all of our schools and supporting our teachers and supporting our administrators and our students. So it's ongoing work that we're working on.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for all the great work. It's been really excellent in the wake of so many traumas. Just a quick question. I noticed in your slides that you mentioned the possibility grant funding pending for the Educator Hub. I'm just curious to know a little bit more about what that would look like. We certainly have heard in our community conversations just the amazing stress and pressure that our educators are under, and I'm just curious to learn a little more.
So those conversations initially, with our fire response, we needed a lot of PD in the moment. So we were creating that, and thankfully we had the skilled and knowledgeable folks to come together to create that. But knowing that we need that as a system, that we've had a pandemic, everyone's gone through the pandemic. We've now had these fires within our community. Our parents need additional supports. Our teachers need support. So our conversation was, it's hard to get out of buildings to do PD. It's hard for parents to always come to things at night. So what can we create that in the moment, if they want a quick little nugget of information, that they can go to and get that nugget of information there? And so really the goal of that is to make them short, quick, and provide them with skills and resources in the moment that they can use to help with that. And of course, continue to build that out for whatever that looks like. But knowing that, sometimes when we're on our phone and we're sitting somewhere and we could pull those up as a parent, and you're busy and you're sitting at a practice, that's something that you could do easily on your phone. So trying to make that as easily and accessible for our parents and our teachers as possible, knowing that people are really maxed out and busy. But there are nuggets of time that we can do that, and we want to try to capture that and help provide that support and that training.
So following up on Beth's question, when do we think we'll hear from Kaiser on whether that funding is coming through or
Hopefully
not?
soon. We're really counting on it. I'm anticipating in June that we'll hear back from them, if not July, but they were very willing to help support. We just had to make sure that we had all the pieces for them, so.
So we'll look
We'll
forward
find
to
out
hearing
soon.
about that in a report from our superintendent, that we got the grant. And also, kind of related to that, you have the links that you had up there that were live when we're looking. Are those links available if somebody were to go to board docs? Because we get emails from people asking what we're doing, and it seemed like it was a really good source of supports and
Yeah, they
things. So
should
I
be.
think it'd be great to make sure that those links are available to parents, because this is the kind of information that I don't think many parents know is out there and is available, and I think it's super helpful. So.
Yes, I will go back through and make sure that they're open universally so people can look at them, but they should be there, so I will
Yeah,
double
that's
check.
awesome. Thanks.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, any other questions, anybody? Nicole?
I have one more question that's tangentially related. Thinking about supporting the whole child, I'm wondering, our elective courses are a way that we can support the strengths of our students, and I wonder, in our conditions of declining enrollment, if we're worried that we're going to see a decrease in our elective course offerings for our middle and our high school students.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that, Nicole?
Oh, I was just thinking about how we're, the ways in which we're supporting the whole child, and elective courses can be a way for some of our students to have courses that celebrate their strengths. And I'm wondering, in the conditions of declining enrollment, if we're anticipating a decrease in our elective course offerings at our middle school and our high schools.
I think that depending upon the decrease in enrollment will depend upon how many elective courses you can offer, and that would impact middle school and high school. But typically those decisions have been made locally, so it's hard to say. I would say over time we'd have to really think about the electives that we want to prioritize, and I think that just having a wide variety of electives, it just depends on having a lot of students, quite frankly, based on the funding model we have today.
Thanks.
And I just have a quick question, Tammy, about the additional counselors, and how is the decision made about where to deploy them and kind of how to use them most effectively?
Yeah, so initially, we had applied for those funds early on at the end of January, beginning of February, I believe, and really we had those identified schools that were right in the fire zone. But what we learned quickly is that our students are in many places, and I think that we know that, but in that moment, it was like, how do we get more resources in these schools. And so now we've really paid attention to where our students are. And so Fairview is a great example. They weren't a part of that, but they have 130 students that have been impacted by fires. So they're going to have a full-time school counselor next year. So just really looking at where the additional needs are, as well as where do we currently have additional mental health advocates, and trying to match those needs with the needs of the schools, and making sure that we're getting all the schools covered. Like Centaurus has students, and so they'll get additional supports there as well. And just really working closely with administration to make sure that we've got our schools covered.
That's great, thanks. Go ahead, Stacey.
So this is just an idea. I don't know if you saw 60 Minutes this weekend. They had a thing about the mental health crisis of teenagers. And one of the models was it wasn't a school, it was I think it was a hospital, but in conjunction with the local schools, they had an urgent care drop-in mental health thing, which I thought was really interesting. And I started thinking about who could pay for that. And then when you said Kaiser, I'm like, So it's kind of an interesting model that for a certain, 2 hours a day, it was just a drop-in mental health urgent care. And it sounds like it's pretty successful. And so I started thinking about that. I mean, if you could have Monday at Centaurus and Tuesday at Boulder High or whatever, and you had Kaiser willing to help, it seems like maybe that would be a model to look at.
Okay, thank you. I will take a look at that. I had family over really late on Sunday, so I didn't get to watch 60 Minutes, but I taped it.
I'm sure you can find it. Yeah, you did tape it?
I do tape it, yeah, so I will
take a
watch
look.
it.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll be sure to do that.
Thanks, Stacy. Okay, I'm going to go look it up. Anybody else? Okay.
All right, thank you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, you too. Thanks for hanging around this late.
Absolutely.
So the next item is our legislative update, but I think, Rob, we have Tanya coming in 2 weeks, don't we? And tomorrow is the last day of the session. And so I don't know that is there anything you really feel like we need to report
I
on?
think letting her come in and give us a wrap-up will be really good.
Yeah, and I think there'll be some budget implications that we can get some further information from Bill on once we kind of have everything signed, sealed, and delivered. So I think that maybe we'll just move on past this because there's really nothing, first of all, that we can do since they end tomorrow. And we've kind of talked about the big nuggets all along. So we'll move on unless anybody has any questions. Kitty, you just popped up. Do you have a question about legislation? Okay. Just wanted to make sure. It's kind of random how the screen works, so I just wanted to make sure. All right, so now we have the action items consent grouping. So the consent items are as follows. 7.1 personnel items, 7.2 approval of minutes April 26, 2022, 7.3 approval of minutes April 26, 2022, 7.4 Destiny Library Management System, 7.5 fiscal year 23 Microsoft license renewal, 7.6 Grant College and Career Connections concurrent enrollment CDE 2022, and 7.7 Grant Special Education ESSER 3 supplemental grant Colorado Department of Education 22. Are there any items board members would like to pull from the consent grouping? Kitty or Lisa? Kitty's saying no. I'm not hearing any from Lisa.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't know you couldn't see me.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved by Nicole. Second by Beth. Is there any discussion, any questions about any of the consent groupings? Kitty?
Yes, I have a couple of questions. One is about the 110 contracts. When we see that on the personnel report, does that mean that they have already done their 110, or that they're going to do that the next school year?
That they're going to do it the next school year.
Okay, and then I was just looking up about it online to get more information, and I saw that some school districts have conditions. Do we have conditions, and can anybody take advantage of that?
I'm sorry, some school districts have conditions. Can you expand on that a little bit?
No, I can't, because it's something I read. It was somebody who had worked in, I think, Littleton.
If it's okay with, if it's okay with you, Kitty, I'll have staff write something up and send it out, really explaining in detail what the 110 is and how there's eligibility for it. Does that work?
Sure, and what percentage also of our employees take advantage of it?
It'd be easier for us to get an actual number than a percentage, but I think we can get that for you.
Oh, okay, thanks. And I have one more question on concurrent enrollment, because I see that we're going to be expanding it from 3 to, I think it was 9 schools. So for students who go to, in the past at least, one of those, go to a high school that's not one of the 3 that have had it, can they still get concurrent enrollment?
So all students are eligible for concurrent enrollment. I think that what you're speaking to is in the past we had limited some of the front range courses to individual schools, and we're trying to expand those so kids in all schools have access to those programs. And so this grant is going to allow us to do that.
It looks like Kitty left the meeting.
Did I say something? Or?
She came back.
Oh, good. Okay.
I accidentally clicked myself out of the meeting.
I thought I said something, Kitty, and then you left. No.
Yeah, I'm highly offended, so I had to leave.
So I'm not sure where you left off, but this grant is going to allow us to expand concurrent enrollment. The goal, as we think about Graduation Plus, is to expand the access to concurrent enrollment alongside advanced placement and international baccalaureate courses to just provide more access to all schools and all kids.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? I think in that grant, Rob, there's some really interesting statistics about the increasing numbers of students who are starting to take our concurrent enrollment classes. And I also think it's important for people to understand that for our high school teachers to be able to teach it, they have to have advanced degrees, so there's some tuition assistance so that we can have more teachers available to teach. Did I get that right? So I just think as we try to expand the concurrent enrollment, there's costs and steps that we need to go through, and it's really exciting to see us following along on that, and like to see those numbers even higher next year.
That's the goal.
All right, so Laura, can you call the roll, please?
Garcia.
Yes.
Gebhardt.
Yes.
Niznik.
Yes.
Rajpal.
Yes.
Sargent.
Yes.
Sweeney Moran.
Yes.
Zis.
Yes.
Motion passes.
So my script now says, at our April 26th meeting, the board adopted a revised policy BEDB. This new agenda category, future agenda requests, is now a standing category featuring our agenda setting discussion. So are there items that we haven't talked about that other board members would like to raise at this time? Nicole?
As I mentioned a little bit in my public comment, I know our athletic director has done a great job of updating the procedures for reviewing and adding new sports. We talked about NHS and how are we streamlining and making that more consistent. And our IGDA and policies, the resolutions and the exhibits are pretty outdated. And so as we change these procedures, I just want to make a plug for updating those policies. And I know CASB has some new example policies that are related as well. And Kathleen's not here, but I just want to put that on the agenda to make sure our policies reflect our new practices in that area.
Is that all? Kitty or Lisa, do you have anything you want to add to future agenda requests?
No.
Richard?
No.
We talked about community schools, and I'm not sure where that's at, if we're going to be hearing. It's coming back? Okay.
Yep.
When?
Anyone else? Rob, I would hope that we could get an update on the preschool mess in a couple weeks. Because I know, but I know the LCO applications opened up, and so I think if we could just almost make that like a standing every couple weeks update, that would be great.
I can include that in superintendent comments where we are. Laura, if you'll make a note, and we can speak about that in cabinet. Thanks.
All right, I think, anything else for the good of the order? Richard moves to adjourn. All right, second. Everybody have a good week. Thank you. Meeting's adjourned.